What's going on, guys? It's Jono, and in this video today, what we're going to be talking about is how you can web scrape leads off of Upwork and then automatically score them, filter them out, and then how you can create a message that is custom tailored to send off to every single job that matches the criteria of what you're actually looking for. And how we're going to be doing that is essentially by using Make.com. Make.com is an automation platform that connects thousands of applications together. In this case, we're going to be using something called Apify, which is a web scraping technology where we're just going to scrape different listings off of Upwork, and then we're going to classify those listings based on your criteria, what your interests are, what you're good at, all of that kind of stuff. And then we're going to use ChatGPT to filter it out. And then we're going to dive into the listing, pull additional information out of that listing, like, for example, the hourly rate. We're going to see how long the projects are, the duration, that kind of stuff, just to make sure that it actually aligns with what you're looking for. If you're in the United States and somebody's putting up a job posting for $20, you're probably not going to want that. So we'll definitely filter that out, and then we'll create a nice little proposal and put this into a spreadsheet so that you can take all of those proposals once a day and you just apply, right? You click a couple of buttons and you apply. It's going to shave off so much time. Now, just before we begin, guys, two things I want to point out here. If you like this tutorial and you want to follow along, then if you want the blueprints, rather, you can just click this more button and import the blueprints straight into your Make.com account. They are going to be free in the description down below. If you don't have a Make.com account, please sign up via my affiliate link, and I will send you over my top 10 favorite automations using Make.com. And if you guys are also new to this channel, make sure to subscribe down below, because if you like content like this that hopefully helps make your life simpler, then I'm sure you're going to like all the other content that I release as well. So with that being said, let's dive in right now. All right, so let's dive into this. We're going to first create a scenario on the top right corner there, and we are going to focus on scheduling before the trigger here. Right now, in order for us to actually get to scheduling, I'm just going to set up a fake trigger here, just because it's not going to let us focus on scheduling until something's set up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click test and test for the value and name and save. And this is important that we save the scenario so that afterwards we can start scheduling. Now, my face was blocking the scheduling parameter down here, but you can see down at the bottom left corner of your screen, it's set for every 15 minutes, which is great, right? But we want to change this so that it's at a better cadence. So for us, what I'd rather do is I'd rather have this fire every single day. And it doesn't necessarily matter. I guess it does. I would schedule this before you kind of come in and look, just making sure that maybe you're scheduling it for, I don't know, let's say 6 a.m. on your day, right? So that's just an easy way for you to go ahead and make sure that every single day at a specific point in time, this is always going to run, collect new results. So all you have to do is, instead of going to Upwork, having to log into Upwork, find all the results, you just have to take a look at what's in our Google spreadsheet and say, hey, this looks good to me. We're going to apply here, copy and paste, and you're good to go, right? So that's essentially it. So that's the trigger in a nutshell. We're going to make sure that this runs every single day, once a day. Right? So now that that's set up, I want to move over to the actual trigger here. So we're going to go ahead and delete this now that this is all functioning properly. And we're going to use something called a web scraper to pull these results in. Now, before a web scraper, we could have used like Upwork's RSS feed, but the problem is that they actually discontinued this. So they removed it in August 20th this year, or at least 2024. So that's no longer an option. So we have to find an alternative way to essentially scrape these leads from Upwork. And how we do that is through a platform called Apify.com. Now, for the majority of you guys watching this, you're going to be able to use this pretty much completely for free. They do give you $5 of free credits, and that's typically like lots, maybe hundreds at a minimum, but more like thousands of web scrapes every single month, and it resets every single month. So just keep that in mind. You can go ahead and sign up for this. I do have an affiliate link down below. If you guys are generous enough to help me out with that, and this is your first time, you can use that link. That would be much appreciated. And once we're inside, we're going to go over to the store tab here, and we'll search for Upwork. Now, once we search, we have a list of tons of different Upwork web scrapers that we can use. And for the purposes of this tutorial, I want to use this one, especially too, because it has the most amount of people using it. So I'm going to go ahead and use this Apify scraper / Upwork jobs scraper. You can see that it's $4 per 1,000 results. And you can see down here at the bottom as well that you do get $5 recurring every single month. So essentially you could have 1,250 web scrapes completely for free. So that's a lot of jobs to be applying for, especially if you're a freelancer. That's a crazy amount. So that's pretty cool, right? It's going to give you access to a lot of jobs. So let's go ahead and let's set this up. I'm going to go ahead and restore this to the default parameters so that we can work through this together. So in this web scraper, you're going to see the job keyword is full stack developer. Okay, this is pretty much good to go. What we just need to do is click save, right? So down at the bottom here, you can click save, either at the top right or at the bottom. And the reason why we're saving it is because we want to essentially load this in to our make.com scenario. So back in make.com, now that we've saved it, we can actually access it in make.com. So we'll click this massive plus button in the center of the screen and we'll load in Apify here. And we're going to run a particular actor, right? For you guys to set this up, you will need to connect your account. There's an add button and you will need an API token. You can get this on the free plan, at least at the time of this recording. You're just going to go to settings, API, grab it and install it there. And then you'll have your account good to go. Now, once inside, we're going to choose the correct actor. All you have to do is click this copy to clipboard button here and then paste it in the actor. And because you have saved it, it should load up here. Now, in my instance, it's not loading up because I just selected the wrong account. So I'm going to go ahead and change that account and I'm going to now find that. And just in case you want to double check and make sure that it is the right one, you can also click map, see the ID here, and it's going to be the same ID in the URL up top as well. So we are good to go. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run synchronously. Now, what synchronously means here is that if we take a look at this particular workflow, it's not going to move to the next modules until the web scraper is complete. And that's a big deal, right? Because web scraping takes time. It's not like pretty much an instant request like some of these other modules. It might take 30 seconds. It might take 45 seconds or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, right? So we're going to wait for it until it's done. And then only once it's done, then we're going to go on to the next results, because all of these results require the data from the web scrape to move forward. So it's going to draw an error if you don't wait. Now, if you end up just pulling in so much data every single day and it takes over 120 seconds to load, it's going to time out this and it's not going to work. So essentially what you'd have to do is you'd run the actor asynchronously, and then you'd pretty much do everything else in this workflow on a new tab. So you just start the workflow by essentially having a new module down here, and it's going to be Apify watch actor runs, and you just continue on. So you'd have a two-part sequence. First step is just running it. Second part is just essentially grabbing it. If you guys think you're going to be loading in tons of results, for probably 90% of the people watching this, that's not going to be the case. So you can just continue to follow along with me, but that's the one modification I'd make if you're going to be web scraping in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of different results every single time you're doing this. Now, all of these we can pretty much leave as default. It's going to load in the default build, timeout, and memory in Apify, which is in the run options down here. Typically speaking, you want to make sure you're using the latest build. Because over time, these guys are updating these builds and making sure it's up to date, nothing breaks. So obviously the best case scenario is the latest build, unless it's super new, which then it can also have bugs, but usually that's not the case. They have a default timeout where it's just going to cut off after, let's say, 3,600 seconds, and the certain amount of memory that it could use. You can see here on your free plan, you're going to get 8 gigabytes of memory. So you could allocate more, but the defaults are good enough for this particular run. So that looks good to me. All we really have to do is we have to just come in here and choose the job keywords. So this can be whatever it is that you're looking for, but if you just, come to Upwork and go to find work and find work for your skills, you can see tons of different job opportunities here. And whatever floats your boat, you can pick it and you can add it in there. You could even have multiple runs potentially by having multiple scenarios, or just having, a list of different list of different job options that you're interested in running the scraper for every single one of them. For this tutorial, we're just going to focus on one at a time. So with this input JSON, I'll go ahead and just choose automation. Let's actually see what they have here for automation. Okay, they don't even have something for automation. Okay, anyways, we're gonna go with make.com just for this scenario. Make.com automation. Sweet. So that looks good to me. We're pretty much all set here. The only other thing that I will suggest is just putting 10 as your max results, especially for testing, because if you don't, you might blow through your $5 in like one run if you're not careful. So just keep that in mind too. So we'll come back to the JSON, and all we have to do is just copy all of this and circle back to this input JSON field here and paste it in there, right? So you can see all the JSON here. It's not formatted particularly great, but you can see the search queries here, make.com. You could even go ahead and maybe do like go high level, right? So that's another way to get multiple search listings in there, I believe. Okay, so that's good. We'll click OK. And just before we actually go ahead and run this, I'm going to add in one more module, and this is going to be an Apify module. We are going to get the data set items. So this, once it's done running, it's not going to provide us with any data, right? All it's going to do is tell us, hey, the run was successful. Here's the information on that particular run. But if you want to grab that data, we need to have another module here, and that is the get dataset items. And all we need to do is just one thing here in the dataset ID. We just need to find this field here, which is the default dataset ID, and plug that in here, and we're good to go. We'll click OK, save, and we'll run the test results, which is the run button down at the bottom left side. And we're gonna wait until these results come in. Now, keep in mind, web scraping does take a long time. We're only scraping 10 results here, and you can see how long it can take. So if you do end up scraping tons of different results and you hit that 120-second threshold, then it's a good call maybe to break this into 2 separate workflows. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. I have nothing else to say until this is done. So looks like we're just going to be killing some time together right now. Oh, man. So how's your day been so far? Tell me about your life. What's going on with you? I'm just kidding. It would be fun if you could talk through the camera. Okay, here we go. We've got the results here, and you can see that we have 10 different bundles. Now, bundles is like the jargon in make.com. Essentially, just think about this as a list, and you have a list of 10 different results, right? We just web scraped 10 different results off of off of Upwork regarding make.com. So just because we added in make.com as the keyword doesn't mean that it's going to be necessarily in the title. It could be in the tags, like it is, like this, for example. It could also be in the description. It's really anywhere in the job listing that it's going to list make.com. Now, before we continue on with this, you can see how big of a freaking pain in the ass it is to run this every single time. You're going to want to like just honestly quit automation and your whole life if you have to sit through 2 minutes every single time just running this all like it's just so frustrating, right? Your computer might be broken by the end of you developing this workflow. So what we're going to do is we're going to speed up this by loading in a parse JSON module, and we're going to use this as test data so that we don't have to run it every single time. So when we open up the results in this get dataset items, which is like this cloud-like thing here, we can click on the download option up top and download output bundles. And all we have to do is copy all of this and then circle back and paste it in the JSON data. Here, click OK. We're going to unlink the two here. And this is going to be our new starting point by dragging the trigger from the Apify module over to JSON. We'll click save and we'll run this one time. It's going to give us an error because typically when you're parsing JSON or transforming data, you shouldn't end a workflow with transforming data, because it's like, why would you end something? Why would you transform something and then not use that transformed data? Because that's the whole purpose of these automated workflows. For this purpose, it's okay just to run anyways because we're just testing and we haven't built out the whole workflow. But you can see all of the results in this parse JSON that we also had in this get dataset items. And we can just keep running this over and over and over again. We'll ignore these warnings because my OCD is going to kick in. I'm going to get frustrated with that as well. But that's essentially how it works. Now we don't have to wait for the particular web scraping to be done. Okay, cool. So that's the first step that's completed, right? Now, the next step here, what I want to do is I want to filter out any results that might not be applicable. So what I mean by that is I want to make sure that the jobs that we're applying for actually makes sense for you to apply to, right? There's no point in putting BS jobs on there that you don't actually want. So let's filter out some of the lower quality options. And those lower quality options doesn't necessarily mean the job is bad. It just means that it's not the right fit for you. So we're going to go ahead and choose OpenAI here, and we'll create a completion for the particular model. I'm just going to use 4.0 mini. I think that's going to get the job done just fine. So we'll go down to 4.0 mini down here, and we're going to filter out the results. Now, I'm just going to copy and paste them in here just so it's a bit faster so that, you know, we can speed up this video a bit. But we're going to have multiple different messages, user, system, and assistant messages. So the first one is going to be a system message. What a system message does is it just essentially tells the system, or it tells ChatGPT how it should, you know, essentially you're just giving data for it to understand the context of the prompt better so it knows how to better respond, right? So in this case, we're just saying, hey, you're a helpful marketing assistant that is great at finding the right jobs to apply to and filtering out those that aren't right for the company. Next one is going to be a user response. This is going to be what you essentially provide to ChatGPT. These are the instructions that you're going to be giving to it so that it understands what it is that you're actually trying to do. And with the user message, in this case, we're going to say we need to determine whether or not this Upwork job is a good fit for our company. Reply good or bad, and then we're going to pass in the particular data here, such as the title, description, and also interests as well. Now, you can see we're mapping stuff here, essentially in make.com. If you guys have never used this before, you can reference past modules. We're just referencing past modules, the data that we received into the future modules here. Okay, so that's pretty much good here. I'm just going to delete this interests, and we'll circle back to that in a few minutes here. And then essentially with the last couple responses, or the last couple messages here, they're both going to be assistant messages, and we're just essentially telling ChatGPT in an assistant message how we should respond, right? And we kind of laid it out up here where we're like, hey, please either reply good or bad. Those are like the two options that we want. So we're going to give both options here. We're going to say good, and we're also going to say bad. So this is going to be an assistant again, and bad. So those are really the two outcomes that we're looking for. And then in addition to that, we just want to make sure that we add in some interests up here as well. Okay, I'm just going to scan this, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so that looks good to me. The only thing that I want to do here is I want to add a module, and this module is going to be a tools module, and it's going to be set multiple variables. In the first variable, I want to set interests, right? So in the interest section, this is kind of where you can specify what it is that you're looking at for and what it is that you're not looking for, right? So I'm just going to come in, I'm just going to copy in what I essentially created here is like test results, but I said, I'm interested in helping automate business tasks using software such as make.com and go high level. I want to make sure this is the main focus and not just a small piece of the job. I'll click OK and pass this into the filter as well. Okay, sweet. And we'll go ahead and pass in the interests in here as well. Okay, so that sounds pretty good to me so far. Now, just a couple other things that I want to do here is I'm actually going to add some stuff before this particular module because I want to make sure that in this filter module, we can filter out things that are not, or that don't meet our specific qualifications, like the amount that they're paying, the duration of the job. Maybe you guys don't want one-time projects. Maybe you want to work with clients for months at a time. Maybe you don't want to deal with clients that only pay 20 bucks. Your rate's $100 an hour, right? All of that kind of stuff. So circling back, I'm going to say if you're circling back into the parse JSON, we can take a look at some of these responses. So we got title, we have the description down here, we have the URL, we have all of this kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this URL here, and I'm just going to paste this into a new tab. So upwork.com/job sales funnel automation expert needed. And here's the exact job. Now, there's a couple things that I want to grab from this page. And it's ultimately up to you guys. You're welcome to grab anything you want to, but the things that I want are these 6 fields here. I want to know how long is the job, what the duration is, what the experience level is, what the pay is, remote work, all of that kind of stuff, right? So this is what we're going to be grabbing in this next module here. So we're going to go ahead and create another ChatGPT module. And actually, instead of creating this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clone this guy here, and it's just going to speed up the workflow a bit more. Cool. Actually, hold on. We need to do one more thing before this. We're going to add another module in here, and this is going to be an HTTP module. We're going to make a request, and what we're trying to do here is we're trying to find all this data, right? So we want to use ChatGPT to scrape this data off. But in order to get ChatGPT to scrape this data off, we need to give ChatGPT the information. Now, if you just go into like ChatGPT or like ChatGPT, you can say, hey, analyze this website, and it'll do that. But in the API version of ChatGPT, which is these modules here, you can't tell it or instruct it to go to a website, analyze it, summarize it, give you a response back. It doesn't have that capability right now. So we can't do that. In order to overcome that, we'll use an HTTP module, and we'll make a request. And the request is going to be to a URL, specifically the URL of the particular job listing here. So we need to hard code in here https://upwork.com. And then we're going to add in the URL here. There's not going to be a backslash here because the URL, as you can see, already contains that backslash. So we're good. And that is essentially it. We'll click OK. If we unlink this and just run it one time, we'll go ahead and we're going to scrape this data. Okay, sweet. I'll just stop this for now because we got quite a few results. But in the output here, we can see the data. And it's a lot of HTML, CSS, all of that kind of stuff, which is obviously not what we want, right? So we need to strip that HTML out of there. But that's okay. For now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to pass this in to the ChatGPT module. Similarly to before, I'm just going to speed this up by kind of copying and pasting what I've already built over here. So we're going to have multiple different messages, user messages, system messages, and assistant messages. Now, the first thing here is a system message. You're a helpful marketing assistant that is great at finding the correct details on Upwork job listings. So you're prefacing it with the context that, hey, you're going to be coming to this website. You need to grab certain job listing details. And we're going to specify that in the user message, which is going to be next here. And the user message, we're going to let it know, hey, please analyze this page. And you can see here that we have the strip HTML tag here. So the strip HTML tag can be found in the functions in make.com. So these are all kind of amazing built-in functions that are going to be a game changer for you if you haven't learned the functions. I highly recommend taking some time to learn them because you will spend an hour or two learning it, but then you'll inevitably win back days and days of your life just by knowing this stuff, right? Because you'll overcome blocks so much faster. I do have a video, I'll link in the description below, where I go over every single one of the 74 make.com functions here. But for this one, we're going to use the strip HTML, and this is just going to pull out all of that HTML. We're going to pass in the data here. So practically what that looks like is if we kind of come back in here and look at the results, and we go to the output here, you can see that there's just a lot of HTML. Like this isn't required, this isn't required, this isn't required. It's going to strip the title tag here, and it's also going to strip the end case, or like both the start and the end of the title tags, but it'll leave the text in between. So we're just going to be left with essentially text at the end of this, right? So that's how it works. We're going to pass in all of the text of this page, including this. We're just going to ask ChatGPT to essentially like get all of this information off of the page, right? And how we're going to go ahead and do that is we're going to essentially tell ChatGPT that the output needs to be JSON data. So it needs to be JSON data structured like this. And we have 6 or 7 different fields here. And these fields mimic essentially what we find here. So the first one is payment type. The second one is duration, and then experience, payment type, location, and project type. And it's going to pull in all of these for us. And then we're just denoting what type of data structure it is. There's a lot of different data structures when it comes to JSON. JSON is essentially this right here, but also you can think about JSON as this, like key value pairs. Key is the title, value is the title's name, right? The key will never change. So every time we add a new field to this, the key will always be title, and that's how we know where to put the title in, but the value is always going to change depending on the particular job. So this is just a way of formatting and structuring data. So the key will never change, but the value here is denoted by a string or, for example, a number. There's 7 different data types. But yeah, that's essentially how we're going to structure the data. You guys can ultimately go ahead and add more data types in here if you want to. You could be like, for example, coming back here, and you could be like, I don't know, tags. You could just add in tags, and you could say tags equals, and this data type will be an array, right, of multiple different values. You could even put in a text array here just to know what exactly it is. Just make sure that when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, the last value or the last key value pair doesn't have a comma at the end of it, or else the JSON will break and you'll spend a lot of time trying to figure out why it's not working properly. So we have the JSON structure good to go. The last thing we need to do is show advanced settings down here. And we need to make sure that the response format is changed into JSON object, and we're parsing the JSON response. That way it's not coming back to us like text like this. It's coming back to us like JSON data that we can use in make.com. So that's essentially what we're doing here. And I believe we're good to go. All we need to do is change this last field here, which is the score. So we have a particular way of rating these job posts so that we know what exactly it is that we're how likely it is to fit the criteria of what you're looking for. So coming back in here, I'm just going to copy this in one more time to speed everything up. I'm going to click OK. We'll save this, and circling back to here, this set multiple variables. This is like where I'm just going to add in all the different things that you guys probably want to change about this workflow. So all you have to do is just come into this one location, change this, and you're good to go. We'll add in an item here, and we're going to call this score. And then we'll define what that score looks like. So I'm looking for a job that pays, you're just going to tell it what it is that you're actually looking for. And then you're going to rate it on a 5-point scale for points assigned to every single some variable, right? So in this case, we're saying I'm looking for a job that pays a fixed rate, is at least $50 USD or more, and that has a duration of over 1 month. Let's just say, I don't know, scoring is out of 5, and here are how points are awarded with a spelling mistake in there on purpose. I'm just kidding. That was definitely not on purpose. 2 points if it's super related to make.com, 1 point if it's over $50 USD, 1 point if it's over a month in duration, 1 point if it's a fixed rate. And one last thing here that I'm going to change is I want to make sure that this can get half points if it's potentially somewhat related to make.com. So I'll say or 1 point if it's somewhat related to make.com. Okay, sweet. So that looks good to me. I'll save this, and I'm going to plug in that score rating here so that it's going to automatically spit out a score when this particular ChatGPT prompt runs. So we'll come in here and we'll change the score, and we're good to go. So now what's happening is we are pulling out all the data, and we're also pulling out the score as well. And what we can do is we can actually unlink this, and we're just going to run this module, and we're going to see how well this works. Okay, sweet. So we can take a look, and we'll look at the results here. So for a job like this, it's saying, hey, this is like not really related to what we're looking for. It's a one-time project. It's US only. This is the location, expert level, less than a month, hourly, right? So it doesn't really match the criteria. So circling back in here, what we could do is we could also make sure that in this filter that it's matching certain criteria as well. So circling back, we can say we need to determine whether this is this Upwork job is a good fit for our company. Reply good or bad. Title is this, description is this, and then we can come in here and we can add in certain criteria here. So salary is this, and let's say score is this, right? And one more thing here is that in the interests, we're going to come back in here and we're going to change this. And we're going to say, I'm only interested in jobs that pay $50 USD or more and that are at least a 2 out of 5. Okay, sweet. And we'll just come back into the filter one more time and just make sure that in this particular prompting, we'll make sure that all jobs need to have a score of over 2 and must pay over $50 USD to qualify as good. And I'll just put that in quotes and click OK, and we're done. Sweet. So just 2 more modules here that I want to go over until we're essentially done with this workflow. The next thing is that, like, you know, you get a job listing like this. This is great, right? I mean, it's just nice to be able to automate the process of actually finding this stuff, because we all know it takes time, it's a pain, and it's also kind of stressful sometimes too, especially on Upwork. If you guys have used it before, I certainly have, where you're going through all these job listings, you're like, does this make sense? You're dealing with all these other softwares, and you know, it can be quite confusing, and you just want to make sure, like, it's just nice to, at the end of the day, have jobs that come in. You don't have to think too hard about it. You can allocate those your resources to more important tasks, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to make sure that not only do we find these jobs, but we also generate a custom proposal so that when you guys find a job in our Google spreadsheet, which is right here, and you like, that is freaking sweet. Like, that is my type of job. Like, that is what I want to be, working on. Then we'll go ahead. We'll also create a message for the person too that we can send over to them, so that instead of you having to build this from the ground up, it's going to at least have, at a minimum, like a first draft done, so that either it's good enough just to send, or it's good enough for you to just do some minor tweaks on and then send it out after you're happy with the outcome. So circling back here, we're going to add in one more module. So I'm actually going to copy this over. So I'm just going to copy this module from this workflow and paste it in here. And then we're going to connect this in. Sweet. So, okay. And I'm going to move these Apify modules. This is the one thing about trying to align your workflow. Sometimes it doesn't work that nicely. Sweet. Okay. So we got this module in here. I just realized I put in the wrong location. We're actually going to put it at the end here and move this in. 2 things. Before we even set this up, I want to make sure that we filter out responses here. So we'll filter responses, and the result here has to contain case insensitive good. If it doesn't contain case insensitive good, then we're not going to move it onwards, right? We want to filter out jobs that you don't even want to spend your time looking at, right? Because it's just not worth your time, and it's not going to be the job that you want to apply to anyways. So we'll filter out those. And then if the job's good enough, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a job application or proposal for them. So in this ChatGPT module here, there's a bunch of different prompts. The first one is a user prompt, and we're saying you're applying on Upwork for this job. and we'll list the title here. We can pull that title in from the initial JSON data here. And you can say, I'm an expert in whatever. Now, coming back in here full circle, we'll just set another variable and we'll title this expert. And you can add in like what you're good at here, right? I'm just going to put make.com and I'm going to link that back in to this particular ChatGPT module here. So I'm an expert in make.com. I'll copy this again. And I want to apply for this job. Please create a compelling response as to why I'd be the best candidate for the role. Here's the job description. We'll paste in the job description one last time. Actually, you could put in the job description here just to give a bit more results. Or if you wanted to, you could just put the job description as it is from the web scrape. Either or will work for you. And make sure to have a clear intro, provide a link to the portfolio, answer any questions the client has, thank them for their time, and then sign off. Only answer questions if asked, otherwise don't create questions and answer them, right? So this is kind of the structure that I like to take when applying to Upwork jobs is clear intro, link to portfolio, answer any questions, thank them for their time, sign off, and also social proof in there the whole time, right? Social proof is going to be the best way to essentially sell yourself. Now, one of the other great ways you could do this, if you guys are interested in how you can structure these first messages, that I think is like a really, really smart idea, is just go ahead and sign up as an employer on Upwork, and you can post a job, and maybe you're even looking to hire something or somebody, and you can see what the results are that you're getting. You can see the first messages that people are sending you, and then you can frame your message based on what you're seeing other people sending you. So that's a great way to see what the top people are doing in your space to get some creative ideas on how you can structure this message properly. Okay, sweet. So coming back in here, sweet. We're going to move on, and the next thing down here underneath user is going to be another user message. So please start by confidently assuring the poster of the job that I can help with the position while referencing the job title here. So we'll paste that particular title in here again. And please provide this portfolio link to the viewer. So we'll go ahead and create another variable in the set multiple variables module. And this is going to be your portfolio. So this could be wherever it's located, example.com. And we'll paste that in here. It's always really good to have a portfolio. Personally, I would also include a video. If you guys are offering a standardized service, I'd always have a video for that service and included in these first messages. It goes so far. I know that for myself, when I was doing Upwork, man, just the increase in responses that I got, and positive responses, and the willingness of people to jump on calls when you can deliver a high quality video describing how you can help them out. It's amazing. I wasn't doing customized videos for every single person. I had a generic video for the service that I was offering that was sufficiently generic enough to really cover most of the people that what I would be reaching out to anyways. So I can't say enough how highly I think that you guys should be doing that. Okay, so we'll add in the portfolio link here as well. And if we'll continue on with this, if and only if the job posting has questions, please answer these questions. Here's some basic questions here. I'm going to zoom in. Please go ahead and add this to your question bank, or add on to your question bank, because this isn't complete. This is just a couple questions to get you guys going so that you can understand, or so that you can give inputs to ChatGPT so that you don't have to be the one that's always responding to these questions. The more, like literally every single time you message somebody, or every time you get a job posting that you're interested in and ask for a question, you should put that question into your question bank here so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time you encounter that same question. Doing this enough times, you're going to pretty much probably be able to handle 90% of the questions out there at least. So this is going to save you a ton of time. So I just put in a couple questions here. So when can I start? I can start immediately. How many hours? I can do 40 hours. Are you looking for short-term or long-term? how do you define success? Why should I hire you over somebody else? Are you working as an individual or as a part-time or an agency? All of that kind of stuff, right? So I'd highly recommend that. We'll also put in the link to the portfolio again down here, and then just thank them for the time and then sign off with this. And then we have a system message here that's just essentially saying how we should format the response. So we shouldn't have custom variables, don't include HTML or Markdown. This is just stuff that's going to help you guys send the message faster instead of having to, do more edits with it. So we can click OK. And then lastly here, we're going to add one more module, and it's going to be a Google Sheet, add a row. So first things first, we need to connect into the right account here, and then we'll search by selecting from all. In order to select the right spreadsheet, we just need to pull in the ID and the URL up top here. So it's just after the d/ and before the /edit, paste that in the spreadsheet ID, select the right sheet, which will be sheet 1 by default down here. It's just, unless you change the name, you can have multiple tabs, but sheet 1 is just the default here. And then we'll just map in all the custom variables here. So title will be the title of the particular job posting. Description will be description. Status, I'm going to put as to do, just because we haven't taken any action on it. Payment type is going to be the payment type. So in response here, payment type will be payment type, duration will be duration, experience will be experience, salary will be salary, location will be location, project type. It's project type. We'll put score here. Message that we're essentially getting ChatGPT to write, which is the proposal. Here, the live URL we'll paste in here as well. So https://upwork.com without a / and then just paste the URL. The date is going to be the date that it was posted, so posted at, and then found is going to be now, right? So this is when I just put found, but this is essentially when we scraped it and we created this listing for it. We'll click OK, save this, and let's give it a shot and see how these responses come in to this particular workflow here. I'm just going to delete these and start with column 3 or row 3. Okay, so pulls in the title, description, status, it's hourly payment, less than 1 month to complete. It's $70 to $125 an hour. You can see here that I put the experience in wrong, but here's the salary. It's only located in the US. It's a one-time project. Here is the message that we generated together. Looks like the operation failed here. So what we'll do is we'll circle back to this maker request. We're going to do two things here. We're going to show advanced settings, and we're going to have a timeout of 5 seconds. And I think that's pretty much it. We'll click OK, and then we'll also add an error handler here. So we will add an error handler so that in case there is an issue, we'll break. And we're going to break for 3 times. So what this means is that if there's an error like this, it's going to throw it back in the queue and it's going to try to execute this 3 more times. And after 3 times, if it doesn't work, then it's going to give up. So we can click OK. You see this error here, this one. We just need to make sure that we include storing of incomplete executions, which is right here, so that we can save it to recall at a later point in time and run the module once again. So we're going to save that. And I'm going to come in here and just make sure that the Google Sheet has the right experience level set here. So circling back, experience level, click OK, save, and let's run this one last time. Okay, so it's filtering out quite a lot of these results, as you can see here. It's not actually having a lot pass. So maybe what's going on here is our filter step is just a bit too intense, right? So that's okay. What we can do here is we can just say, we can just say that I'm actually going to get rid of this and say all jobs have to have a score of over 2, right? We'll delete this and we'll just start a little bit easier, not have such extreme kind of expectations for these jobs right off the bat. Say I'm only interested in jobs that have a score of at least 2 out of 5. We'll click OK, save, and run this module one more time. And let's see if this passes the filter at least a couple times, right? So we'll look at the results here. Bad, bad, bad. So, okay, we got one result there passing through. We can take a look and see. So for this, it's a full stack dev with mad skills and a sense of humor. Okay, wow, I've never seen a job requirement for a mad sense or a sense of humor. Okay, got it. In that order, full stack, then mad skills, then a sense of humor. If you don't have 3, I'm sorry, you can't qualify for this job. So it's an hourly 1 to 3 months, intermediate. This is the salary. Location is US based. Contract to hire, and here's the message score. We can even bring this down one more time and we can just say that, hey, this needs to be having a score of at least like above 0, let's just say, to include even a wider pool of people. Obviously, you don't want to probably target people that are a 0 anyways, but this can just increase the threshold for testing purposes, because with systems like this, it's important to test and see what works and what doesn't work. It's not going to be perfect out of the box, and that's okay. We just need to figure out what works. That has a score of over 0 out of 5. And I'll just double check this to see. So all jobs have to have a score of over 0 to qualify. We'll save and we'll run. Let's see if potentially the filtering that we set up here is the reason as to why this isn't working properly. Okay, so we're getting another job passing in here. We can take a look and see what that job is. Lead gen setup. We're looking for an experienced lead gen expert to set up a comprehensive lead capture engagement system. Fixed price, one-time project. Okay, so now we have another job coming in, right? So these are starting to come in a bit more. We have 3 out of 10. Right now, which is not bad. Maybe, okay, we'll get a 4th one, right? So you can kind of play around with this, but I think the key that I want to emphasize here is that it's not a bad thing if you scrape 100 jobs and you only get 2 or 3 or 4, because at the end of the day, like, you're probably not going to be doing 1,200 jobs a month. You don't need to apply to every single one. I would rather just apply personally to the jobs that I know I love and that I know I'd kick ass at, because those are the jobs where I'm going to really enjoy the work I'm doing, and I'm also going to get the best results for the client, which is going to get me a good score, which is going to allow me to get more jobs in the future, right? Because you're scraping and you're switching the frame, where instead of you having to search, you're hunting, right, for these jobs. Now you're just in the process of, analyzing, being like, yep, nope, terrible, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. Okay, that's good, right? So it saves a lot of time and it allows you to be picky so that you get to choose the cream of the crop to essentially, help you not only love your job more, work on the jobs you love, but also get the best results for clients. So that's it for this particular video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you found value in this video and you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button down below. Give me a thumbs up. Leave any comments down below if you thought I missed anything or you'd like to see any future videos or any comments at all. Love to hear your thoughts. And thanks, guys, so much. Really, if you made it to the end, really just appreciate you guys watching. So thanks so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.